Hello, fellow sleepless sapiens. Take a deep breath. Leave the frantic rush of your modern life behind and step into the endless silence of the ancient world. You are here with Sleepless Homo, a place where time slows down, where we listen to the quiet truths of history, and where the night welcomes your curiosity. If you fall asleep along the way, let it happen. The darkness is safe, and the past will always be here when you wake up. For now, just listen. Let your mind travel back, beyond the empires, beyond the first cities, beyond agriculture itself. We are standing in the heart of the late Pleistocene. The air is crisp, biting, and so pure that every inhalation feels like cold crystal in your lungs. Look at the vast, unforgiving mountain range before us. Glaciers, ancient and blue, carve their way through the jagged peaks, completely indifferent to the tiny lives moving beneath them. This is the world of the Neanderthals, a world where survival was not a concept, but a continuous rhythmic action. Look closely at the snow. A line of 5 figures moves with absolute purpose across the white desolation. They do not talk. In this extreme cold, speaking is a dangerous waste of energy, a loss of precious warmth. They communicate through the shift of a shoulder, the slant of a spear, the sudden, frozen halt of the leader. They move in a single, perfect file, each man stepping precisely into the footprint of the one before him. This is how you conserve strength when the snow is deep and the journey has no known end. Their bodies are masterpieces of evolutionary engineering for this specific landscape. Short, immensely strong, with wide shoulders and deep chests that warm the freezing air before it hits their lungs. They wear the heavy, dark furs of beasts. They have successfully hunted and processed thick layers of reindeer, bison, and bear hide, bound tightly to their limbs with tough leather sinew. Look at the leader in the front. His face is weathered by decades of frost and wind, his gaze fixed on a distant point in the valley. In his hands, he carries a long, heavy-thrusting spear tipped with a perfectly knapped piece of dark stone. This is not a throwing weapon. To use this spear, he must look his prey directly in the eye. He must feel the hot, desperate breath of a giant mammoth or a cornered steppe bison. He must stand ground when a predator charges. This is a life built on raw courage, silent trust, and the unbreakable bond of the small clan. Every step they take carries the weight of their family's future. If they return empty-handed, the hearth fires will slowly die, and the cold will claim the weakest among them. But they do not intend to fail. We follow their tracks back, away from the freezing wind, moving toward the massive limestone cliffs that border the valley. Here, inside the dark, protective maw of a great cave, the world changes. The air becomes heavy with the smell of wood smoke, old ash, and animal fat. This is the sanctuary. Sitting closely by a small, crackling fire is a craftsman, an elder of the tribe. His heavy brow is shadowed by the flickering amber light, but his eyes possess an absolute brilliant clarity. Look at his hands. They are thick, scarred, and strong, yet they move with the precision of a modern surgeon. In one hand, he holds a heavy hammerstone, worn smooth by the river. In the other, a piece of raw flint, dark and glassy. A tiny razor-sharp flake falls onto the fur, beneath his knees. Another. He is not blindly striking the stone. He is having a silent conversation with it. He feels the hidden fractures inside the rock, reading its internal density with his fingertips. For hundreds of thousands of years, this exact technique has been passed down from parent to child. It is a lineage of knowledge, a survival strategy embedded in muscle memory. Every movement is slow, deliberate, meditative. The small shards of stone littering. The floor are the remnants of an ancient technology that allowed humans to conquer the cold. He is shaping a blade that will scrape the fat from a fresh hide, a blade that will cut nutritious marrow from a bone, a blade that will save a life during the next deep freeze. As the sparks gently drift up into the darkness of the cave ceiling, the craftsman remains completely lost in his work, a solitary creator bringing order out of the chaotic raw material of the earth. Moving deeper into the subterranean shadows, past the main living space, the walls of the cave press closer. The air here is colder, damp, and completely isolated from the outside world. By the pale, flickering glow of a single fat lamp, a woman stands before a flat, dark section of the stone wall. Her fingers are stained with deep, rich red ochre, a natural pigment gathered from iron deposits in the earth. ground into a fine powder and mixed with animal fat. Look at her hand pressed firmly against the cold limestone. With her other hand, she carefully traces the shape of her fingers, leaving an indelible mark of crimson paint. This is something monumental. This is the birth of permanent memory. Before this moment, animals lived, breathed, and died, leaving nothing behind but bones that would eventually turn to dust. But here the Neanderthal is leaving a signature. She is saying to the universe, I am here. I am alive. I occupy this space and my existence matters. Beside her handprint, she begins to draw. Her movements are not hurried. She traces the flowing outline of a massive bison, capturing the strength of its shoulders and the curve of its horns with a few masterful strokes of red clay. She adds rows of small, precise dots below the animal, perhaps counting the moons, perhaps tracking the migration routes of the herds, or perhaps mapping the hidden water holes in the frozen valley outside. She is translating the vast, chaotic reality of the world into symbols that her children can see and understand. The cave wall becomes a living map, a physical archive of the clan's collective mind. In the absolute dark, she is weaving a bridge between the present moment and the distant future. We turn around and walk back toward the light, emerging into the massive, echoing main chamber of the cavern. The entire clan is gathered here now, surrounding a large, roaring central hearth. The hunt was successful, and the tension of survival has temporarily dissolved into an atmosphere of warmth and abundance. A large piece of meat sits roasting over the flames, the fat dripping down into the embers, causing them to flare up in brilliant bursts of blue and yellow light. Look at the faces around the fire. To the right sits a powerful hunter, his body wrapped in dense furs, his eyes weary but content. He watches the flames, his mind resting after the exhausting chase through the snow. To the left, another man sits on a stone, using a small bone tool to carefully clean his hunting gear, ensuring that his weapons are ready for the days ahead. In the center, a mother cradles her young child, wrapping them in soft, warm rabbit pelts. The child watches the smoke rise toward the cave roof, fascinated by the movement. This fire is the true center of their universe. It provides more than just heat. It creates a social space. It is here, in the circle of light, that stories are shared without words, through gestures, expressions, and simple vocalizations. It is here that the young learn what it means to be part of the pack. They look at the ancient drawings on the walls above them, drawings of horses, mammoths, and deer, and they understand their place in the grand design of nature. Outside the cave, the freezing wind continues to howl against the stone, and the great predators of the night look up at the glowing entrance with fear. But inside, behind the barrier of fire, the clan is safe. They have food, they have warmth, and most importantly, they have each other. This is the foundation of human resilience. As the sun climbs higher into the sky, the pale, icy grip of winter slowly yields to the vibrant warmth of the green season. The heavy snow melting from the mountains fills the valley below with rushing rivers, bringing life back to the grand landscape. We find the clan operating outside the deep darkness of the cave, utilizing a massive sunlit rock overhang that serves as their summer workshop. The activity here is constant, a fluid dance of primitive industry and collective effort that keeps the community alive. Look closely at the figures spread across this bustling camp. On the left side, a powerful craftsman sits calmly on a large boulder, using a heavy hammerstone to roughly shape a massive piece of flint. His focus is unyielding, his movements rhythmic and steady as he prepares the raw material that will later be refined into lethal hunting tips. Just behind him, several family members are busy organizing long wooden poles and dried branches, building small structural windbreaks to shield their sleeping areas from the evening breeze. Near the center, an elder woman kneels directly on the earth, working meticulously, with a heavy stone scraper to soften a massive animal hide spread out before her. She leans her entire body weight into every single stroke, pushing away the stubborn remnants of fat and tissue to ensure the leather remains flexible, durable, and comfortable to wear when the cold inevitably returns. To the right, a young hunter crouches beside a carefully contained fire pit, striking two mineral stones together to catch a fresh spark on a bed of dry tinder. The tiny orange embers flicker to life, casting a warm glow across his concentrated face as he gently blows on the flames to make them grow. All around this open-air sanctuary, the vertical rock face is adorned with hanging tools, dried skins, and structural wooden frames, turning the cold limestone into a functional home. The deep valley stretches out in the background, an endless sea of green pine trees and winding rivers, offering a momentary abundance that the clan must exploit to its absolute limit before the winter returns. Away from the main camp, deep within the lush, untamed forest, the search for sustenance takes on a quieter, more delicate form. A woman kneels in a dense thicket of green ferns and wild shrubs, her body close to the damp, fertile earth. She wears a simple garment made of dark animal fur, her long, tangled hair held back by a thin leather band as she works, diligently under the dappled sunlight, filtering through the dense canopy of ancient trees. In her hands, she firmly holds a sharpened wooden digging stick, pushing it deep into the soil to uncover the nutritious roots, tubers, and wild bulbs hidden beneath the forest floor. Beside her sits a large, beautifully woven basket made of flexible birch bark and sturdy twigs, already overflowing with the day's harvest, a colorful collection of wild roots, small forest nuts, and bitter green herbs. This work requires a profound, encyclopedic knowledge of the natural world, passed down through countless generations of gatherers. She knows exactly which leaves can heal an infected wound, which roots provide long-lasting energy, and which berries must be strictly avoided. Every plant has a story, a specific purpose within the survival strategy of the clan. She does not harvest blindly. She listens to the forest, moving carefully through the brush to ensure she leaves enough behind for the ecosystem to regenerate. The air around her is thick with the rich scent of damp moss, decaying wood, and wildflowers, creating a peaceful, almost sacred atmosphere of connection with the living planet. Higher up the mountain slope, on a dramatic rock ledge overlooking a deep, forested canyon, another critical task is underway. A seasoned hunter sits near the edge of the cliff, his gaze scanning the vast horizon where a silver river snakes through the distant valley. Before him lies the fresh carcass of a deer, laid out carefully upon a clean animal hide. With an incredibly sharp, fresh flint blade, he begins the precise process of butchering the meat, dividing the animal with clean, practiced cuts that ensure nothing goes to waste. The muscle meat will be dried and smoked over the fire to preserve it for future journeys, while the tough inner sinew will be carefully extracted and rolled into strong threads. For sewing clothes and binding spearheads, a young woman sits nearby, watching his hands with absolute attention, learning the complex anatomy of the beasts they depend on. A young child sits quietly between them, completely fascinated by the tools spread across the ground, sharp stone flakes, bone awls, and pointed antlers arranged in a neat arc. The rocky platform is surrounded by simple wooden frames, where dark hides are stretched out to dry in the mountain air, catching the full force of the sun. The sheer height of the location offers a perfect vantage point, allowing the family to spot the distant dust clouds raised by migrating herds or the subtle movements of dangerous predators lurking in the valley below. Back inside the cool, shaded entrance of the cave, the vital transmission of knowledge continues between generations. An elder woman with long, braided gray hair sits comfortably on a thick pile of furs, leaning forward to instruct a young boy sitting cross-legged before her. Between them on the dirt floor lies a massive prehistoric bone, dense and heavy, alongside a scattering of sharp flint shards and a pair of curved deer antlers. The old woman holds a small, rounded hammerstone, demonstrating the exact angle and pressure required to split the thick bone without destroying the valuable marrow inside. She speaks through slow, deliberate gestures, guiding the boy's small hands as he attempts to replicate her movements. The boy watches her face with deep respect, his fingers tightly gripping a smaller piece of bone, feeling the texture and the weight of the material. This is the true engine of human evolution, not just the tools themselves, but the patient, face-to-face teaching that allowed complex skills to survive across millennia. Around them, the floor is littered with the debris of countless hours of practice, a physical testament to the discipline required to master the arts of the ice age. The soft light of the late afternoon creeps into the cave mouth, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air, creating a timeless scene of heritage. survival, and quiet education. The cycle of their daily lives continues to turn, rooted deeply in the ancient rhythm of the land they call home. Every action, no matter how small, is a thread woven into the larger tapestry of human endurance. To look at them is to see ourselves stripped of modern complexity, operating on the pure, raw instinct to protect, to build, and to carry the torch of life forward. As the sun begins its long, slow descent behind the jagged peaks of the valley, casting golden light across the landscape, a profound sense of peace settles over the camp. The heavy work of the day, the flint knapping, the skin scraping, the foraging, and the butchering, quietly transforms into a time of reflection and rest. The families gather once more under the natural shelter of the stone, their bodies tired but filled with the deep satisfaction of another day survived. They look out over the vast, untouched wilderness, watching the river turn to a ribbon of molten silver in the twilight, knowing that tomorrow will bring new challenges, new hunts and new opportunities to test their resilience against the immense scale of the Pleistocene world. They are the survivors, the creators, and the dreamers of the ancient dark, in their quiet focus, in their shared warmth, and in the patient education of their children. They have laid the foundation for everything that is yet to come. The fire crackles gently, the smoke rises slowly toward the heavens, and the timeless silence of the earth welcomes another night.